What's up, AP Micro B-Day? Today we're being going over Monopolies, and this will be the first video that you see that is posted on the new website, so that's going to be cool. Been spending a lot of time working on Wix, so let's get right down to it. So the first thing, I need to explain the difference between Monopolies and monopolistic competition, and that has to do with your average total cost. So in a Monopolies, you can earn in the long run or you could lose in the long run, right? But in monopolistic competition, you can make zero profit in the long run, and you're going to see why that's related to the average total cost here in just a second. So I'm going to draw it up for us. You start off with your marginal cost. We all know that is marginal cost. Boop. Boop. DARP, what's that stand for? DARP, demand. Right here, marginal revenue. So, right here, what do we know? First off, right off the bat, where marginal cost equals marginal revenue is where the profit maximization occurs. And I also drew my DARP a little bit too inelastic, so I'm gonna, it's not too inelastic, but to make it clear, I want to make it a little bit more elastic. So, this is your profit maximizing quantity, PQ, and up here is where you're gonna sell that. This is your price maximizing price. So this is where this is just where your maximization is in quantity. That's where it is in price. They're gonna sell at that point. Now you might be asking yourself, well, what happens if they sell it where the marginal cost crosses the demand? Well, if they do that, they have reached social optimum. And in doing so, they've created zero deadweight loss. Now, how is it possible? Because the deadweight loss would fill in here. Because, they're not going to sell here and have greater costs. Because they're not operating at a loss, but they're not making as much as they would operating at the profit maximization. We've already learned this stuff. So, how are they going to be able to produce here unless they receive subsidies from the government? Well, I'll tell you how, but it's illegal. They could price discriminate. And you might be asking yourself, what is price discrimination? And I'm going to give you a little skit to explain. Okay, price discrimination, or arbitrage if you're an individual buying and then selling at price discrimination, you're selling it for what the people value it at. So this way, people buy exactly what they value an item for, which is really good for the monopoly, but it's really bad for consumer surplus because you don't get any consumer surplus if you're buying it exactly what you value it at. So let me explain two different scenarios with Advil right here. What's up, Advil company seller? Yeah, I got a pretty bad headache right now, so I'll take that Advil, $5. Mr. Puppers here, leader of the company, the salesman. He's gonna be like, hey, he values it at $5. I'm gonna give it to him for $5, even though at the profit maximizing quantity, it might be worth $20, or that might be where we sell it. But you know what? We're gonna sell price discriminate here. Give it to him for $5. So I got a headache. $5 for an Advil, baby. Now, a different scenario. I'm a pregnant woman. Give me the Advil. $5,000. $5,000. I'll take it. And that's price discrimination. Since the pregnant woman valued the Advil more, the company is going to sell it to her for $5,000, therefore making a profit if they would have been selling at the profit maximization quantity or price of $20. So they just made a $4,980 profit with that woman, a $15 loss with the other guy. But you do the math. So as you can see, it would be nice, but it is frowned upon by the government. So the only real way to get to the social optimum would be through subsidies, which you're kind of thinking, why would we subsidize monopoly? But hey, it's the only way to reach social optimum. But we don't do that still. Okay, so I need to pull up on my Chromebook to remind me of what I need to talk about, because I know all of it. I just forget. I'm Mark Zuckerberg out here, baby. Okay, so we've gone over deadweight loss. We know deadweight loss. We've gone over, let's go over revenue maximizing quantity. This is a real no-brainer, even though I asked it in class one time because I wasn't thinking very straight. So, where does marginal revenue run out of marginal revenue? It runs out of marginal revenue right here. I have to redraw DARP here. So when it hits 0, that means we are absolutely getting no more revenue if we start selling more, if we start producing or selling at a larger quantity. So the maximizing revenue is right here, because even though it could go 100, 80, 60, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 right at this point here, meaning that there's no more marginal revenue. We would be losing money if we start producing more. We're already losing money if we start producing all the way to here, but this way we are maximizing how much revenue we're earning. And what does that mean on the demand curve right here? Well, it actually makes this point directly above it unit elastic. And unit elastic is actually a good thing because, or not, unit elastic isn't a good thing, but this shows that we talked about it in a FRQ one time because everyone in the class got it wrong, but the demand curve is elastic and then it becomes inelastic as it goes further. So when that point reaches the point from elastic to inelastic is where you are at the profit maximizing revenue here. So it's elastic, 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 unit elastic, inelastic, inelastic, and it just gets more and more inelastic as you go down the line. And that is that. Quantity for perfect price discrimination. Quantity for perfect price discrimination, we already went over that. So now let's go over the profit, let's go over the loss, and let's go over monopolistic competition or zero profit. So obviously if you're operating at a profit, your average total cost is going to be below how much you're selling it for. Pretty self-explanatory. So what does that mean? That means you're making this much and you're losing this much. So your profit is the area there. Now I'm going to try and erase this to the best of my abilities. I'm just going to erase the whole thing. Draw it all up for you again. Here. Try to go fast. This is a pretty lengthy video, I feel like. Don't know for sure though. Okay? Now, I'm going to draw it as if we were operating from a loss. And if we're operating from a loss, the average total cost is going to be above. So what is the loss here? Well, we're only making this much, right? So the loss is all of this right here. And that's also self-explanatory, because if you're only making and selling this much and the average total cost is higher than what you're making, you're obviously going to be losing money. Self-explanatory. Now, the last thing is going to be unit elastic, or not unit elastic, but it's going to be monopolistic competition. You're not making any profit, you're not making any loss, and that happens when the average total cost crosses. Nope, I messed that up, sorry. Should have drawn more points in there. When the average total cost crosses where you're selling it at. And that makes perfect sense. This is monopolistic competition because there is zero profit in the long run. And as you can see from here, ATC, let me level it off for you again. Marginal cost, DARP, marginal revenue. If you're producing here in the long run, and in the long run it costs this much to produce here, how are you going to make any money? That's monopolistic competition. That is essentially what all of this is. And let me just check and see if I haven't forgotten anything. Deadweight loss, profit maximizing. I mean, deadweight loss is still here. Social optimum still here. Right here. You love it. You love to see it. Social optimum. Price discrimination, still illegal, but could still happen. Or subsidies from the government. I mean, the revenue maximizing quantity, or revenue maximizing quantity is right here still. DARP is up here. That would mean this is unit elastic, elastic, inelastic, inelastic as you go down. That's what all of this is about. That's monopolies, and that's monopolistic competition. All right, last thing here, just going to describe what happens with the government subsidizing to reach the social optimum. So that way there's zero deadweight loss. So already the monopoly is beating down on us, right? We can only buy from them. Mizuno somehow made a monopoly on golf clubs. So What does the government do to reach the social optimum? We want more of what they're producing. We don't get that we're taking a beating right now. Neither does the government, because the government steps on a pair of gloves, starts beating us too, because they're gonna subsidize the monopoly. Like, it doesn't make, like, it makes sense why that works, but like, it's like, dang, just beat up the little guy. So the government, and that's all of it. I'm obviously not trying to punch right now, so nobody clown me if you watch this video.